What about TIAA? Can you take the money and pay the tax? No. I want my money. Too bad. Can I have $5,000 a month? No. Can I roll the money into my IRA? No. Well, when I'm 70, can I take a minimum distribution? Yes, you have to. Well, is it okay if I take a little bit more this month because I need it? No. All right? So you have some heavy restrictions on your TIAA. So how do you get money out of your TIAA? Well, you can die. If you die, your heirs can get the money. You can annuitize, which is sometimes the best thing to do for a portion of that money. Now it gets a little bit interesting. You can do something called iPro, which is, hey, I'm not yet 70, so I don't have to take money, but I want some income. Can I have the interest on my money? And they will say yes. Okay? When you hit 70, you can, in fact, you're forced to take the minimum distribution option, but you can't get more than your minimum. All right. Now, this is a really sensitive issue right now. The last option. You can do the transfer payout annuity. And what that is over a 10-year period, they will transfer that money to either you directly or to CREF. Now, let me give you a warning. If you go to 9 out of 10 financial advisors, they're going to tell you to start this transfer payout annuity. They're going to say, oh, there's all these restrictions with your TIAA. Oh, it's going to be so miserable when you retire. You're not going to have access to your money. But if you start this 10-year program, in 10 years you'll have access to all your money. And that sounds pretty good to people. And a lot of people do it. But you should know a couple things. One, if you start it, you can't stop it. Once you get on that train, it doesn't stop. Now think about it for a minute. Let's assume that you have a well-diversified portfolio that includes both CREF and TIAA. And we've already established that you have complete liquidity with your CREF. And we've also established that you have limitations on your TIAA, but that your vintage TIAA is paying a higher rate than other fixed income today. Why would you take a guaranteed 4 or 5% or even more and transfer that over to a 10-year period when everybody needs some fixed income in their portfolio? What I say is invest the best, which is often keeping the money in TIAA, live with the restrictions, know what they are for each contract, and then work around them and get your liquidity from CREF. That is a minority position that you're not going to find very often, but there's no way in the world you could go to a financial advisor with money that came from TIAA in today's environment when fixed income is paying 1, 2, 3%. You've taken money out that was earning 5%. The advisor has to charge you something. You can't do better. But advisors are telling people to do this. And you could say, well, maybe you could do better in the market. Yeah, sure, but most people, I want some money in the market and some money guaranteed fixed in a well-diversified portfolio. I wish I could just scream this to the world. And I've been preaching this for years and years and years. And I will tell you, we now have, with Fort Pitt, we have about 160 million under management. With PJ DeNuzzo, who is the index investor, where we're just booming. We're on track to pick up $50 million or more this year. We have not transferred one nickel out of TIAA from anybody, even though, frankly, it would be in our financial interest to start this 10-year deal. But it's not the right thing. And most advisors, unfortunately, are not fiduciary advisors. By the way, a fiduciary advisor has not only a moral but a legal responsibility to do what is in your best interest, not theirs. So a lot of these things that I'm going to recommend are not for the advisor's best interest. Bill?
Question about the third option, that interest only.
Mm-hmm.
What's your sense of the pluses and minuses of that?
The interest only, so let's say for discussion's sake that you are retired.
So you have to be retired?
Oh yeah, this is all at retirement.
Okay.
Yeah. The interest, if you need the money and you don't want to commit yourself to annuitizing and you don't have the after-tax dollars, because remember, if you have the after-tax dollars, I'd rather have you spend those, then fine, get some interest. You know, supplement your income.
Is that flexible? Can you change the amount each year, that kind of thing?
Well, you can do different things with different contracts.
Okay.
Yes.
If you're still in the contribution phase and you have money in the old TIAA good layers, is it in your interest to restrict how much new money goes into TIAA and funnel more towards CREF, or is there? So I'm not quite sure when you contribute to TIAA-CREF, is there some minimum that has to go into these funds?
So the question is, now the question, by the way, since I'm a lawyer, I'm allowed to take any question I want and answer any question I want. But the question is, if I'm still working and I have some vintage TIAA, does it make sense to put more money in TIAA? And the answer is, of course, any lawyer is always going to say to any question, it depends. But let's just say for discussion's sake that you have sufficient fixed income or sufficient fixed assets in TIAA that's more than enough, then you might want to stop putting more money in TIAA. Most likely, if you've been kind of doing some kind of plan to end up with a certain amount in TIAA and a certain amount in CREF, and you have a whole bunch of years to go, you're going to have to still put in more money in TIAA, just like anybody else who is still investing is going to have to put some money in some lower income, fixed income accounts just to have the safety of a fixed income. You do not want a 100% CREF portfolio, because if the market goes down 40% the year after you retire, you're in big trouble. Jay?
It's my understanding that there's a big difference between TIAA that's university contribution and TIAA that's in an SRA.
That's another issue. Jay pointed out, remember I said there's different contracts? Well, the university contributions tend to be more favorable, higher rate, particularly in the old days. If you put money in an SRA, typically those are at lower rates. By the way, with the SRA, you can get the money out typically even before you retire at 59 and a half. There's a slide coming up that says that.
So these rules don't really apply to SRAs?
That's correct for some contracts. I wish it was universal and it was simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
Roy.
So maybe I misunderstood, but I think I heard you say that you don't recommend doing any of these things, but leave the money in TIAA. Is that right?
Well, the question is, what do I recommend? And of course, it's going to be, it depends. I like annuitizing some TIAA, but I don't like doing it at today's rates. Here's what I ultimately recommend. So let's say you're retired, all right? And let's say it's not appropriate for you to annuitize. You have a bunch of money in TIAA, you have a bunch of money in CREF, all right? I don't think a money manager can do better than TIAA. So let's just say, let's keep it simple. You have $1 million, half in TIAA, half in CREF. Leave the TIAA where it is, do nothing. But I do believe using low-cost index funds, even after fees, you can do better than CREF. So I would consider getting the appropriate money manager for the CREF portion, leaving the TIAA on the table. Now, when I go around the country speaking, the financial advisors that I speak to say, hey, Jim, you're leaving half the money on the table. And the answer is, yep. But you're doing the right thing for the client.
But if you're gonna leave, in your example, half the money in TIAA, how do you ever get it out?
Well, again, you can get it when you're 70 with minimum distribution. You can annuitize. You can get interest until you're 70. There's limitations, but there are ways to get it out.
I see, so after you turn 70 and a half, I guess.
You have to take it, whether you like it or not. Wayne?
Does that third point mean you can only do interest only until age 7.5? In other words, that's the only thing you can do until 7?
Well, no, you could annuitize before 70 and a half.
But I mean, can you withdraw principal before 70.5?
No.
You cannot.
No. Subject to some very minor exceptions, but basically no.